All right. So final packets are out. We have exactly just over 50 minutes to knock out what's left, and we got to get it done. Final exam. Next class. Everything's going to be posted later today, including the video. You can use one page of your own notes, but you have only one page. I would put phones away, get pencils going, calculators, all work. I need by Wednesday. There are no more exceptions to this rule. I have to have everything by Wednesday. After that, I can't accept. So that's a hard final date. That's a deadline. I can't do anything about that afterwards. So I need to see any and all work by Wednesday. No exceptions. All right. Are we ready?
Mr. didn't bring the paper.
That's not good.
I forgot it.
Well, again, that's not good. You knew what we had to do. Basically, you're on your own at this point. You knew what this day was going to be. All right, here we go. Basically, there's not going to be a whole lot of time. You're going to have a circle. Angles are at the center. Also, you have a diagram. Diagram splits your entire circle, which is 360 degrees, into two halves. 180 on one side, 180 on the other. That's going to be a clue because these missing angles, you can get those measurements. Because, for instance, this side right here, from T, S to R, that grand total is 180 degrees. You have 20. You need this part. Basically, take your 180 minus 20. So get those calculators out, type it in. What's 180 minus 20? That's going to be 160. So this part right here is 160. That's how many degrees that angle is from S to Z to R. This little angle, you have a 60, 90. So far, how many degrees do you have in total? How many more gives us 180? 30. 90, 60. That's 150. I need how many more? That's the other way. That was this angle from before. Now, since it's at the center angle, what I'm going to tell everybody, fill in your angles first. Now, since the angle is formed at the center of the circle, that means your angle measure and your arc measure will be the same. That's the key note. Again, that's going to be the key note. If you didn't copy it down, you better listen to the recording today because that's going to be last chance. Now we can answer all these questions, but again, I would be filling these blanks in to help you. So for instance, PZT. P is your starting point. Z is your turning point. T is your ending point. How many degrees is that angle right there? 30. 30 degrees. Again, you got to read it like a road map. What about S? Start at S, go to Z, go to R. How many degrees is that angle? 160 degrees. All right, now you got to go from P. So this next angle, you got to be careful. You're going to be adding a couple angles here. You're going to go from P down to Z, but then from Z, you go to R. So how many total degrees will this angle be? Very good. How'd you get the 150? All right, good. 90 plus 60 equals 150. That's how you get that third angle. Now, the next, your arcs. I'll just go from P to T. Look at that angle. How many degrees is that angle? That makes that arc P to T. 30. Is the arc at the center of is the angle at the center of the circle? All right, arc and angle are going to be the same. Now what about arc PQ? Arc P to Q. So you start here and there. How many degrees is that angle that makes this arc right here?
90.
That's 90. And then your last one, PRS. That's a big one. You're going to have to add all these little parts together. So you start from P. You're going to go to, all the way to R. And then from R, you go all the way to S. 310, very good. Because remember, you have to add. It's going to be 310 degrees. Good job. All right. So here, if the angle's at the center of the circle, the angle and the arc will match. The next problem is going to be a little different. Anybody have any questions so far? Keep that head up. If you need to write these notes on paper or something, do something, but remember, next time I see you, it's a final. You know, you're not going to be able to ask me questions. I'm not going to be able to answer questions.
On the day of the final, is it like, are we gonna get that period for a longer amount of time now?
Yeah, you'll get a slightly, it's going to be almost 2 hours.
Okay.
I mean, maybe it might be like 25 extra minutes, but
How many questions did you say? You haven't decided.
I'll talk about it when we get there. I mean, you're looking at about 25.
Okay.
No. All right, here we go. Now, next one is going to be a little different. Because unlike this diagram, where the angle is at the center part of the circle, these angles, are they at the center of the circle? No. They're off center. That's when you do your either multiply by 2 or divide by 2. All depends on what's given to you. So for instance, this first one, you're given the arc. You have to find that angle.
For the other one, it gives us the angle, but we have to find the arc, right?
Yes. That's what's happening there. So the second one, you're given the angle. The first one, you're given an arc. So if you're given the arc, what do you have to do to get to the angle? By 2. There you go. So what's 82 divided by 2? And don't forget the degree mark. Or you can write it 41 degrees with the word. That's acceptable as well. So if it's off the center, get the arc, divide by 2, boom, you got your angle. Now, if you're given the angle, what do you do to get the arc? Times 2. So then this arc right here is going to be how many degrees? Exactly. That's for the arc. Maybe 6 degrees. There you go. Now I want to show you one other example. You might have something that's going to look a bit like this diagram. You're going to see arc and angle. It's basically going to be the same way. You get the arc, divide by 2. And then you get your angle, 46. Now you don't see it, but that's a 27 here. Well, it wouldn't matter, 27 or 21. Well, maybe I'll make it easier. I'll just write it as 21. But you get the angle of 21 degrees. What's 21 times 2? You know what? We'll go with 20. Go with 21. Oh, I did not mean to do that. We'll make it 21 because I think, yeah, that looks too much like a 1. But if you went 27, you just have to multiply by 2. So if you went 21 times 2, 42. If you went 27, let's say you thought it was 27 times 2, 54. Questions? So, yep, 42, 54. Whichever one you use, that's okay. I'll take either one. But as long as you know, if your angle's not at the center, multiply by 2 to get the arc. If your arc is formed from a non-center angle, divide by 2. You get the angle. Questions? All right. I apologize. We're going to breeze right through this. If you have any questions, stop and ask. We're almost there. We don't have much more to do. And then there's time. We can go back to any of the other problems. Okay. Put that away. Here we go. You have a polygon. Look at the number of sides of angles. This column right here is going to be the total angle measured. This column right here. So then, question 1. What's the number of sides of angles we have? You have 4. You have 4. Then what must the sum of these 4 angles add up to be? 360. All right. How's our setup? What's our equation setup going to be? What must the sum of those 4 angles add up to be then? All right. So how are we going to set up this equation? There you go. All right. Now, here we go. What do we have to do with our terms? All right, do it. What are we combining here?
2x and 3x.
How many x's is that?
2.
Try again.
What?
2x plus 3x.
Oh, Bob, I thought you asked for how many x's there was in
How many grand total?
there.
What about our numbers? All right, that's forgiven. What about our numbers? It's a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 4 numbers.
235.
Good. So you have 5x plus 235 equals how much? How many total degrees, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah, it's up to 360. All right, now, this point, you only have to do 2 things to solve for the x.
You have to subtract.
What do you subtract?
235.
Yeah, do the.
360.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yep.
$125.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Wait, do we have to divide it now?
Yeah, you do divide. Because you're multiplying by 5, so the opposite of multiplying is dividing. That's the only way you're going to get out of that last step.
25.
Yeah, x is 25. Now, you might be told, take your x, plug it in. You didn't have to for this problem, but you might have to do it for the problem on the test. Because what would happen is your setup will give you some credit. You solve for the x, you get more credit. And then the last part, if I say find the angle measure, then you'll get the full credit. Again, I'm not gonna have time for this. Don't have time for the phones. I don't mean that. All right, questions before we go to the next problem. If I were everybody, take note of this chart. See this little chart you have right here? Take note of it.
What do you mean?
Sides or angles. 3,
That's angle.
180. That's the sum of the 3 angles. You get 4, sum is 360. 5, 540, etc. You might see something like this on your phone. Okay. You copying all this down? Okay. It's your grade. All right, moving on. Here we go. Next question. Remember your corners, any and all rectangles are 90 degrees.
Listen, I go to the bathroom really quick.
Where's your agenda?
Uh,
You're there, you're back. Whatever you miss, it's on you. All right. 90 is a grand total. So if this angle is 30, how many degrees must this angle be right here? Grand total is 90. Nope, that's too much. So you went from not enough to too much. Grand total is 90. From here to here, it's 60. This part right here is 60. The grand total, you have to have a grand total of 90 degrees. 60, 30. Now, these little triangles, this angle's 30. So is this one. If this angle's 30, this one has to be 60. So all you're going to be told, if you know these facts, you have every angle you need to know. And then if you want to go real simple, think about this part as a mirror. 60, 30. If you really need to know this, turn your mirrors right here. There you go. Or you can even have your mirror right here. Boom. 30 here, 30. This is 60, 60. Same thing. 60, 30. Now you're set. You can answer every question here. All right, so if we start, S, P, R. Think about it like a road map. Start at S, go down to P, shoot up to R. How many degrees does that turn have? No, 60. You gotta be careful. Grand total, if we went from here to here, that'd be 90. Remember, we turned early. Okay, similarly, what about SQR? SQR is also going to be 60. Very good. Actually, I went the wrong way. SQR. That's also 60. Now, what about SQP? 30. That one's 30. S, Q to P. Read it like a road map. That's 30. Now be careful with the last one. What will PQR be? Start at P. You go from Q, go straight up to R. That's a 90 degree. Is that you, Alexandra? You were right. That is 90. P, Q, R. Okay. Get your study guide, whatever you missed, you got to get from neighbor. And you only have about 25 more minutes. The periods are changed.
What time does this class end?
Well, I told you all at the beginning of the period when it ended, so when that bell rings. Yeah. Is that one's yours, right? Okay. Again, whatever you miss, it's on you. All right, questions. There's only a few more slides, and then if there's anything that we want to go over that you missed from earlier, you need either before today, whatever. Now's that time. We'll have time. I think we're going to have time to ask those questions. All right. So again, rectangles, draw a mirror either right down the middle or right through the center, going left to right or up and down, because then you get your mirror reflection. That will definitely help you. Write in those numbers and answer the questions. But again, read these angles like a roadmap. First letter is where you start. Watch where you turn. Watch where you end. A lot of us were still making those mistakes. And remember, can we read these from right to left as well? Can we start at R, turn at Q, end at S? Can we do that as well? Yeah, you can. So if you get confused this way, you could always read it going the other way. Remember, that middle letter is always your turning point. So a lot of us, we're still getting confused. Some of us, especially with this last one, which, good job, Alexandra, on that last one. You realized, wait a minute, I'm not turning here. I'm going all the way to the top. And you added the two angles. So, all right? Now, oíste. Did a good job on that last one. All right. Questions on this one? Again, gotta go. I know we only have about a little over 20 minutes to get through all this, and then anything else you want to go over, we can. Again, you have one-page notes you can use front and back, but that's your own notes. You are allowed that on the final. And then I think I might have a couple formulas you are allowed to use, so I will give those to you. All right, here we go. This one, I decided to give you the setup. Now, on a Unit 8 test, a lot of you made a mistake on this because when you did your labeling, you were, okay, the first part you labeled, that's all right. But then when you went to your other letter, you either put, some of you put it on the same line, that's fine. But then some of you put it on a different line, and then your whole problem just got messed up. Or you switched your B and C around. Some of you had A times C, B times D. That's not how it's going to go. Again, I'll tell it, you can label the first one whatever you want. But once you label your first part, go down the line. Do not make a term. B is on the same line as A. So you multiply the two numbers or expressions on the same line. There's quite a few of you were tending to crisscross. You couldn't crisscross it. A lot of you wanted to do that, and you guys made mistakes. Here's the same. Label this, you could have labeled x plus 3 as A, but then B would have to be 5. But some of us went A, C, B, D. And then you switched it up here. We weren't supposed to do that. Then another thing I noticed, you're multiplying, your distribution. Some of you still struggle multiplying with the distribution. Some of you just did 5 times x, but you just left it. You didn't do anything to this part. So rather than 5x plus 15, you wrote 5x plus 3. You can't be doing that. That's algebra 1 stuff. And then when you go next year to after, or algebra 2, depending on where you are, They're not going to really go into it. They may just say, one time, distribute, distribute. That's it. You're done. 6x, 6, 1. A lot of us were not remembering to do that, and as a result, now, both cases, you're at a point. Well, up here, you just divide once and you're done. Here, after you distribute, remember, box your terms, box your x's. So notice a 5x and a 6x are on opposite sides. You need to move your terms. I usually say move the smaller and then quite a few actually got this part. But then, here's where I noticed some of you made a mistake. Some of you thought x plus 6 was x times 6. Leave it as x plus 6. And then all you do is just minus. Minus. And then you're done. And similar to here, you were done here. 45 divided by 15, which is 3. 15 minus 6, x is 9, or 9 is x. All right, questions? All right. So see, we're at the last page at this point. You will see one of these on your final, I'm telling you that right now.
All right.
But label correctly. Label properly. And if it's some of the later part of the year, like units 6, 7, 8, 9, you'll probably be seeing more of those because although some of the earlier stuff you should still remember. You're going to see a little bit of everything on this final. But again, review this packet. Make up your one-page notes. Eric, what did I just say? Okay. What else did I say right before that? Well, again, you don't have anything, okay? You don't even have a pass. All right. Again, a few more days to get anything and everything done. If you don't get your work done, it's your grade. And some of you I've already contacted parents over the weekend, so they now know you don't get your stuff done, and then you better kill the final. Otherwise, you're going to have a summer. All right, here we go. Couple more slides. We can do this. Circle equation. Whatever numbers you see here, opposites. So what's the opposite of -3? Opposite of +2. And here's where some of us made a mistake. I gave you the radius. You have to square root it. Some of us did 25 squared, and then you wind up with a huge number. You take the square root. What's the square root of 25? Again, quite a few of us made that mistake. It's an actual number. What about this one? What's the opposite of +4? +1? What's the opposite of +1? Square root of 64? Again, this is R squared. So you square root it. Don't square it. Some of you were squaring it and you made a mistake. Okay. Alexandra, did you get this? You sure? Very good. Oh, no. What about that radius? You didn't get everything. Ah. But you should have said, I'm almost finished. So technically, you were not finished. Good try.
How did you see that one?
I've been in the classroom for 18 years. My eyes develop things. All right. Questions on these problems?
Bro, my allergies are killing me.
Sorry to hear. They were getting me too. All right. Last one. I would include this somewhere in your final notes. Include this somewhere in your final notes. This part that I have up here.
Hey, Mister, are we supposed to be making a final note right now?
You can make that between now and next class. So if you don't have them done, that's okay. But I would be getting them done if I were you.
Like on a separate piece of paper.
Yeah, separate piece of paper. That's what the rules have been for a while. So, and again, if you want to pass, I'll get those notes. All right, here we go. Last little bit. Now, I'm going to ask you for an area of a circle. Think about like a soda can or a food can. On the top, it's a circle. We agree? So if you're drinking a soda or if you open a can of food, circle's the top, right? So the first thing you're going to do is find me the area of the circle that's on the top. I'm going to give you the radius. Basically, all you're doing is taking that radius and you're squaring it. But what is 3 squared?
9.
3 squared is 9. So you would have then pi times 9 or 9 times pi. Less than 10 minutes. Only 8 minutes left in this period. 9:02. Well, now it's. Well, if that's the case, really, No one can go at all, period. Okay, 9 pi. Now, on your calculator,
Send me that.
there's a pi symbol. If you type in 9 times pi, you'll get a number. What will that number be? All right, that's okay. It's either going to be 2826 or 2827. It's about 2827. And that is centimeters squared. Then the last one. Basically, you're doing almost the same thing. The only difference, now you got remember, you can actually multiply all 3 of these numbers on your calculator, and you're going to get one giant number. Everything you see here, but remember, put the 3 in parentheses as you square it. Basically, you can multiply all these numbers, and you're going to get one final answer. What do you get? Okay, 25 times 3 squared. Well, 3 squared, you should get 9. 9 times 25 is 225. And then if you multiply by pi, you should get one giant number. You can do this in one shot. I don't know why we're not using our calculators. Brian, you sure you got this on the final? All right, well, you got last chance, man. Well, you're in that same boat. All right, so 706, 706 what? 0.8 what? 885? 858, all right, that's all right. It's about all right, there you go. Anybody want to look? Anybody have any final questions about anything? This is it. This is your time to ask. When the bell rings. Anybody have any questions?